Good afternoon and welcome to BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by Al Rajhi Bank, Malaysia. I'm Brian Fernandez. Kelvin Wong, market strategist at CMC Markets, is our guest today. Now, Kelvin, great to have you on the show.
Sure, good to see you again, Brian.
Now, Kelvin, we're going to take a look at crypto markets first and then regional stock markets, and then we'll get to your analysis. Now, Bitcoin is at 22,843.7. It's down 0.09%. Ethereum is at 1,615.25. It's up up 2.49%. Now, looking across to regional stock markets, we've got the SGX, which is up 3.2%. Bursa Malaysia is down 0.56%. Shanghai is up 0.4%. ASX All Ordinaries is down 0.28%. The Nikkei is up 0.44%. The Hang Seng is up 0.47%. And rounding up the numbers, we've got the Kospi, which is up 0.58%. Now, Kelvin, it's a pretty mixed market. What's your view on market performance in the first half of the day?
Yes, it's rather muted right now, kind of lackluster. So one of the primary drivers that actually we start to see this kind of sideways movement or more kind of a bit of a losing of upside momentum is actually due to this risk aversion factor where the U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she's now right now at this hot bitter country, is being sensitive is Taiwan. So right now over here, yeah, we start to see there's potentially a retaliation from China, given the hawkish rhetoric up from China policymakers regarding about their displeasure of Nancy's visit to Taiwan that actually officially kickstarted yesterday. So that caused a bit of a jittery movement as well. And not forgetting over here is that in terms of a market, we call it earnings, which is actually the main driver going forward for we call it future performance, especially we talk about the U.S. earnings is still in a kind of a pretty much we call it it's mid-cycle mode over here right now. It hasn't ended yet, so investors are still actually keeping a close watch on how this earnings release will be, and especially what are the forward guidance that's being stipulated by the respective management to have a gauge about especially the ongoing macro headwinds that's being impacted by these micro headwinds that impacted by towards their bottom line. Pardon me.
Now, Kelvin, one of the bellwethers in terms of looking at economic cycles and seeing how performance
Yes.
Across the world is actually ironically a stock called Caterpillar.
Yes,
And you
precisely.
have some insights on that.
Yeah, so let's say, for example, if we can be before we go into the chart, this is the technical chart of Caterpillar we're going to share with the audience, which is pretty much significant. As you all know, that Caterpillar earnings, yes, it announced their earnings yesterday, so it was kind of a lackluster earnings. Revenue, the earnings beat, but revenue actually underperformed and or beyond underperformed below expectation, I would say. But most importantly over here is that their senior management offered a kind of very lackluster guidance, indicating that potentially slower, we call it no signs of this reversal in this current slow demand in their products and services due to this ongoing supply chain disruption. So the reason over here is that why Caterpillar is considered as a bellwether for economic cycle is why, because you're talking about the equipment that Caterpillar use in the the heavy industrial equipment that Caterpillar produce. I would say that they are actually considered as the market leader. So, i.e., right, if you start to see a slower revenue from Caterpillar, it means that people are not actually building roads, people are not building houses, people are not building what I call infrastructure. So that actually lead to what I call forward down the stream. It could potentially lead to slower growth from here. So right now, forget about I know that other people talk about the virtual world. We talk about metaverse building in using blockchain technology, but right now they're still far ahead from us. So right now we're talking about 5 to 10 years down the road. We are still living in a physical world. Yeah. So now back to the chart of Caterpillar. What's important over here is that what we could see over here is that since we know that Caterpillar is a barometer of economic growth, further downside trend of Caterpillar actually indicate future economic weakness, which is actually not good for risk assets, indirectly stocks. So we could see that since it's all-time high, right, in June this year, June 2021, that means talking about last year, it's been trading in this kind of expanding downward wedge configuration, which is bearish. And what's interesting over here is that yesterday it actually declined by 5% or close to 6%, right at the former swing low area of 197.80, which is pretty much bearish. This is the bearish reaction. So potentially, as long as 197.80 holds, potentially it could actually retest the recent low, the July low of 173.24. So in the short term and near term, it's kind of pretty much negative for the risk asset, and most importantly over here is that a break below 173.24, it could take us down lower to 159 area, which is the lower boundary of this expanding wedge configuration that confluence with the former swing high of May 2018 and September 2018. Yeah.
Okay. Now, then on a different note, then we've got Alibaba earnings from the new
Yes,
economy
precisely.
coming out
Yep.
tomorrow. What's your view on that? Because obviously people have, a lot of analysts have indicated that perhaps Alibaba's best days are behind it.
Yes, precisely. But so if you look at Alibaba, right, definitely I have no argument about that or this regarding about this lackluster, or what you call it, less optimistic view of Alibaba, given that what we see is being hit by on the regulatory front, which is talking about the clampdown on the regulatory, which potentially we don't know where will it end and what are the new possibility going forward. And also Alibaba right now is being implicated with this ongoing geopolitical tension that is being played out in US and China, and especially with the US House Speaker right now in Taiwan. We don't know what are the next step, further step could actually lead to this US-China tech war, which is still pretty much in play. So that could actually impact Alibaba as well, being part of this we call it this front where Alibaba is the champion of China big tech. Then what's interesting over here is that we know that this is the fundamental perspective, but how about from a technical perspective, what we could see over here? So I'm going to offer a bit of because at the end of the day, right, we are looking at price, how the price react to the various factors that's being played out in the marketplace right now. So okay, for sure we know that since its all-time high of this Alibaba listed in US, we talk about BAB here, not in the Hong Kong one. So we have more data. So the one since its all-time high in 27th of October 2020, then after right after 3rd November 2020, this is where the end IPO suspension got announced. So since then, it's been trading in a major downtrend build up. All right. So what's interesting over here is that on this year, just recently ago, about 2 months ago, about 8th of June, it managed to break out of this major descending trendline resistance, and it's tried to retest, and thereafter it just trades sideways, didn't break above the 200-day moving average, and from here, very interestingly, this is where another part of negative news took place, where we start to see that Alibaba saying that potentially it could actually shift its primary listing from US to Hong Kong. Then thereafter, a couple of days later, you start to see last Friday, Alibaba is being listed under the blacklist, potentially that's being delisted from the US exchange due to their their non-financial regulatory compliance with the SEC, the financial auditor. And also on top of that, we start to see a Chinese minister that's in charge of information technology that's being placed into investigation. So very coincidentally, right at this technical level, you see a string of bad news. Okay, then thereafter you start to see a 30% decline from here, from the top from here. But what's interesting over here is that technically, right, this breakout from this major descending trend line indicating to us that this major downtrend of Alibaba is now in the consolidation phase. I mean, it's a kind of big sideways range. And what's interesting, yesterday it did a kind of a reversal from right at this ascending trend line support that is linking to that low, the low of that major downtrend, which is 15 March low, and managed to survive that level. So going forward, right, if you look at the RSI also managed to bounce up in the oversold region, indicating to us that the 30% decline is a bit oversold. So potentially, technically, what we could see is a more of a continuation of a sideways range between 124.10 and 81.50. Okay, unless it could have a very clear daily close above 124.10, then we could see a extension of this corrective rebound to the next resistance over here, which is 158.30/177.90. However, if this key range support is being taken, breaking down on the downside, means daily close below 81.50, then potentially you could see another round of impulsive down move to, at least in the first step, retest this current all-time low at 57.20, which was printed in September 2015. Yeah. So
Kelvin, as always, thank you very much for your insights and thanks for coming on the show.
my pleasure, Brian.
Now, we've been speaking to Kelvin Wong, market strategist at CMC Markets on BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch. I'm Brian Fernandez. This video and podcast will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. Thank you very much for tuning in.